And there you go, right here on Penn's Peak Radio, where rock and country collide. Hey, it's Casey, and you know what? We're doing it again. It's another great show that we have going on here for you. And, I'm always excited, and it always kind of amazes me sometimes how I love being able to interview people and talk to people, and sometimes it just works out so cool that I get to talk to the people, that are really out there making the music and making a splash in the country music industry and winning awards and things like that. Some artists are brand new and don't really have much of that under their belt, and then I have other artists who are just really, really rocking the house, and we really love it and appreciate those folks who take time out of their busy schedule to be a part of the show. And today I'm very honored and pleased to have on board a lovely lady who's been recognized as a pint-sized fiddle-shredding Spitfire vocalist. and I had to say it slow because I'm not quite sure how that Spitfire part would have come out if I didn't. But
yeah, say that 10 times fast.
No, I'm not going to, because it's not going to be pretty if I try. But I'm so excited to have Natalie Stovall on board with us today, hailing from her group, The Drive, setting some high standards in country music industry as a strong woman, being mentioned as one of the artists to be looking out for. But we're going to hit all on that in just a minute. But first off, welcome, Natalie, to the Wall to Wall Country Show.
Well, thank you. That was quite the introduction. I appreciate that.
Hey, man, when I don't want to let you down. I don't want to let you down. I gotta do my thing. But man, I've been trying to get you on this show. We were talking a little off air. I've been trying to get you on the show for a while, and I was so excited when they finally were like, "Okay, we can do it." And I'm like, "Woohoo!" And
Yay!
It's just one of those things. You're setting precedences. But before we get into that, why don't we back up just a little bit? For some people who may not quite as familiar of you as I am and all that, because you kind of slide on a little bit of a the slide of country genre, but you knock things out of the park. But I think we need to step back and tell people a little bit about where you hail from and how you got into doing what you're doing, because I know you started when you were at quite a young age, but why don't you tell us a little bit of a story, Natalie?
I did. I started out very young, but I grew up in Columbia, Tennessee, which is just an hour south of Nashville. So I kind of grew up in the middle of all of the country music, and, I was just surrounded by country music my entire life. And I started playing fiddle when I was 4 and started performing, immediately. I think that was basically the reason that I enjoyed playing so much, is because the performing side of things, I immediately gravitated towards that and loved it. And I grew up performing, I used to, basically I'd audition for everything. I mean, it didn't matter if I was supposed to be there auditioning or not. If I found out about an audition, I would go audition. And, I was fortunate enough to do some commercial work when I was a kid, and I went and auditioned for Opryland, the theme park, back when that was still a thing.
Wow.
And the first time I auditioned, actually, they didn't have any kids at the audition. It was just for the adults. And they were like, well, this is cute.
Aww. Aww.
we don't have a spot for you, but they let me audition. And then it was funny because shortly after, I think it was, just a few months after, they actually had an audition for kids because they were creating a kids show out of the theme park. And that's really, when I got that job, I mean, that put me on stage every single day, and I did that show for 4 years.
Wow.
And also, they had Christmas shows. And, at Christmas time, they would do different other shows that the kids were involved in. And so I had to re-audition every year, but I kept making it in until I was too old to be in the show anymore at 14. But it was amazing because that really is kind of what got me my start on everything. And so I grew up right there next to the Grand Ole Opry, performing every single day, and they even invited me to be on the Opry when I was 12 and play my fiddle and sing. And so I started out really young, and I just have never stopped.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like, and I'm looking at this, and I was just about to say, Natalie, you must have that drive. And ironically enough, your band is called I'm looking at this going, oh, drive. Okay. So,
You don't even have to ask where we got the band.
I guess I just figured it out. Because that was going to be a question. I was like, okay, where'd that come from? Oh, never mind. So
that's the one side of it, and the other side is that all we ever do is drive. So, we literally drive everywhere. So it was a very obvious choice. But
oh, okay. So the band did actually have something to say in the matter. It's like, well, we're always in a car moving somewhere.
Right. Exactly. We drive more than anyone ever. So
my mother used to say, you don't let any grass grow underneath your ass. So I guess that's you guys.
Hey, that's awesome. She'd be very proud of us. Sure.
Yeah. And, it's just one of those things. But you know what? That's what it takes, especially, people are coming into the electronic age now. You know what I mean? But, you guys got started so young. That wasn't happening back then. So you had to be seen. You had to get out there and be seen. You had to get in front of people. You had to meet people to remember your name and stuff like that. And I think that's one thing that may or may not kind of be getting lost in today's music industry. How do you feel about that? Are you guys still on that constant move thing, or are you kind of letting the electronic media take the place of that?
It is tough to create the balance of that, because we have been on the side of just the old school mentality of you just get out there, you hit the pavement, and grassroots all the way. But the beautiful thing about the electronic age and where things have opened up is that grassroots doesn't just mean going out and performing and seeing people face to face. There's ways to meet fans online, and there's ways to meet people and grow your fan base in a whole new light, in a whole new way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the easiest way if you didn't start out doing it that way. We still are on the road so much that it is difficult to do as many of the videos and do as many of the kind of social media side things that I want to. I always have these big grand plans, and I've got all these videos that I'm going to do, and I have huge list of everything that we're going to work on.
Mm-hmm.
But then most of the time, since we're still not in the position of having a bus driver or someone who does the work for us, we do a lot of through-the-night drives. Almost everywhere we go, we have to start out at 2 or 3 in the morning, and we get there, and you have to show up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and play the show. And then a lot of times you get in the van and you drive to the next location. And so there's not a lot of extra time in the schedule, at least at this point for us, to do a lot of the extra stuff. But I do as much of all of that as I can, and I think we're getting better at it. And, as you climb up each little ladder of success and every little rung that you go up, you get a little more help with those things.
Right.
You find more room in the schedule, and you have the ability to kind of really focus on the music and, and the creative side of things. That's something that people don't tell you when you want to be a rock star. They forget to put in the brochure that has very little to do with music. A lot of times, you've got to be a mechanic, and you've got to be a truck driver, and
right.
You've got to be a sound engineer, and you've got to be a lighting engineer. And I've done all of those things. I've had to run the sound for the band during the show, and buy my own sound system and figure out how to haul a speaker that is as tall as I am into my Jeep. And, it's funny the way that it all kind of, it all comes together. But it also makes you very thankful when you get to this point where you start to have a whole lot of help in the process, and people are, it's not just all on my shoulders, but I have a band now, and then I have a whole team of people that work with us to try to get our music out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And don't even go into the politics, I'm sure, or the business end of it all. That's got to be a whole nother part of it that you kind of have to be aware of and have a say in it and things like that, because you want, what you need, what you want, what you got to get done to get your music out there too in other avenues. So, it's I don't think they put all that in the brochure.
Yeah, they definitely don't. Of course, it would be lovely if you could just live in a black hole where, hey, you're really talented and you're really hardworking, and that's what you do. So, hey, poof, it all is successful. That's not quite how it works, because there's a lot of extremely talented and hardworking individuals out there. And, you know that no matter how hard you work, there's always someone working harder.
Right.
And so it does kind of light a fire under your ear to keep keep going and work as hard as you can.
So just one last thing on this note before we move on. But you're making a statement that says there's a lot going on. You got to be a little bit of everything. Is that in the concept of that, like, kind of like, is there advice in there somewhere, like, of someone who maybe be, way back when, looking at it, because there's so many people who are getting into country music, and there's so many artists, and there's so many talented people out there who want to get where you are even, and get to bigger names. Is there one solid piece of advice that you think is one of the most important things that they need to remember that you can pass on?
The thing that comes to mind is that you just have to find your own way, because everybody's got an opinion and everybody has an idea of, whatever the new social media trend is, whatever the biggest one at the moment is. If you get those numbers up, that's how you do it. So people will spend all their time making, I don't know, I don't think this has ever happened, but Instagram videos, 15-second clips of, like, this song. But there's always been something, in the MySpace days, everybody, when Taylor was really connecting with her fans, everybody really started focusing on that and saying, that's the way to do it. You got to get your MySpace numbers up. And people started buying MySpace numbers. And then it becomes phony because you're buying fans.
Right.
But, when I first started out, I literally had multiple well-known business people in Nashville take me out to coffee and sit me down and say, I don't know why you're out on the road. This is ridiculous. You really shouldn't be out on the road. You need to be in town, writing more, and working at Starbucks if you really want to get ahead in Nashville.
Wow.
Because, the honest to God's truth, a lot of people kind of go, you can go that route, and that is an extremely successful route for some people. You get in town, you just work as hard as you can on the writing game, and that's how you make your connection. And then that will kind of roll itself into a record deal, and then you go on the road. But for me, I didn't listen because I knew that being on the road was my path. I knew that going out and doing it that way, because at the time, I didn't know what direction I wanted to go. There were a lot of different things that I could do within country music, and I kind of had to figure that out. And the only way I could do that was putting a band together and getting on the road. That was the right choice for me.
Right.
No matter how many people told me I was crazy and how many people told me I was wrong, I just knew in my heart of hearts that that was the right path for me. So I don't care if you're in the music industry or you're in any other industry in the world, you have to do what you really feel is right for yourself. And eventually all the other things will come, and now I balance it a lot better than I did. And I used to be frustrated that I wasn't in town writing more, but now I get to write a lot and I get to be on the road a lot. And, and it all kind of works itself into a balance of success.
Yeah. So taking advice is one thing, but, staying true, I guess, to what you think is your path. And I think those are excellent words. Excellent words.
Absolutely. Just listen to yourself. You know yourself better than anyone else does. And people can claim to know you or think they know what's best for you and have your best interest at heart. It can be people that love you more than anyone else in the world. But you are the only one that knows what the right path is for you.
Awesome.
And that's easier said than done. That's a really hard thing to find. But, you just have to keep praying and searching, and eventually you'll kind of figure it out. And one of the ways to figure it out is to make a whole bunch of mistakes. Going.
And that's awesome. And obviously you're working on figuring some of these things out. I'm looking at, some of the things that I have listed here as far as, you guys, you and your band. Now, you said you were on the Grand Ole Opry, but you and the band Drive has also made appearances on the Grand Ole Opry just last year, which that in itself, I don't know. I hold the Grand Ole Opry up there pretty high. And, I think their standards are like, listen, what we're going to put on this stage has to be good quality entertainment. And for you guys to actually get out there already, that had to be a pinch me moment for you guys.
It absolutely was. It is one of the highest honors in country music to get to play that stage.
Yeah.
So for me, I've always kind of had a second goal because I got to do it so young, and I knew what a big deal that was when I was 12. But I played Mary Chapin Carpenter's Down at the Twist and Shout. It wasn't like it was one of my songs. I wasn't really showing. I was writing at that point, even at 12, but I wasn't showing anyone my music yet. But it became a goal to get to play some of my own music and play with my band. And to already have gotten to do that, I mean, it definitely, pinch me moment, that's a very good way to describe it.
Nice. Well, we want to talk about, something that's near and dear to your heart, if I'm reading this correctly, and we also want to touch base a little bit more on some of the other accomplishments that you have, because I think people really need to understand where your level of talent and performances are. But before we do that, I want to sneak in one of the songs. Now, you guys just released a debut EP with some tunes on it. Am I correct?
Yes, that was, a year ago.
Okay.
It feels like we just released it, but we're,
But
we did release a debut EP, which had our first single on it, and then, and it was kind of the first big splash for us as being a signed band.
Yeah. And we're going to touch base on some of the songs because you have one that's really doing well. But one of the songs on the EP is that Mason Jar?
No. See,
okay.
The crazy thing is we went in and we were recording new music to finish the EP and make it a full record, and we were able to release Mason Jar, but that Mason Jar was the single that we released at the end of last year.
Oh, okay.
And so, and we released Mason Jar right when the label shut down a week before we released Mason Jar. So it was like the crazy timing of everything, and so we didn't get to complete the record. But we did get to put Mason Jar out. We got a ton of support from CMT, especially being named one of CMT's Next Women in Country. They were so great about the video, and we got to do one of the really big, it was one of our first really big kind of filmings for a video, so it was so much fun.
That's awesome. Now, is Mason Jar something that you guys penned?
No, I heard that song, actually. I heard it from some friends, and I thought that it was the most fun song ever, and so, I stole it.
Okay.
I said I want to play that song. I really want to play that song, and the writers were gracious enough to let me do it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I think what we're going to do is, Natalie, if you can hang in there for a little bit.
Of course.
We're gonna take a little bit of a break and pay some bills, but we're going to come back with Natalie Stovall and The Drive. Now that we know what The Drive stands for. Dual meaning there. With Mason Jar. And we're also going to come back more with Natalie and a few more things about her and talk about something that's very special, near and dear to her and the band's heart that they work on it sounds like a pretty regular basis. They like to try to do this. But we'll be back with more Natalie right after we take a quick break right here on Wall to Wall Country. And me, Casey, Natalie, also going to be back in just a moment. And we're back with Natalie Stovall and, her band, The Drive, doing a little Mason Jar action back there. I like it. I really do. You're right. That's such a great song. That's such a great, toe tapping.
It's fun to hear it. I don't ever hear the recording of it, and I haven't listened to it in a while just because we play it all the time. And it was so fun to actually listen to it just now.
So, yeah, and I bet you that's one of those that people are just, dancing and singing along with you and just having a great time. It
is. That's one of the first things that attracted me to that song because, we had been out on the road so much when we started finishing up the record. I had some songs that I really wanted to put on there that I had just written. But when I heard that one, it's so fun, and there's just something infectious about it. And so that's why I knew that we had to do that one.
Yeah. Well, it's a great one, and I can just see, everybody up and dancing and probably have a Mason jar filled with Coca-Cola in their hand.
Exactly.
Some sort of non-alcoholic beverage, I'm sure.
Of course. There's never anything consumed in a mason jar other than, Coke or water.
Sure. Tea. With a little lemon on the side.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And I just that is truly, that's a great summer song. You know what I mean? You're going to throw that one out there and people are just going to get off their butts and have a good time with it.
Well, I hope so.
I think
That's how
so.
I feel about it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you were talking earlier about, the whole fact that, you guys are always on the move. You're always out there doing, performing, busy, 200 dates a year. You're out there trying to perform and get everything in. But one of the things that I always like to mention when artists make this a point is how you guys also, though, take time to do some things where it supports our troupe across the globe. You're talking about where you drive from show to show to show, but recently you had an interesting trip out to the Middle East?
I did. And it's funny just because you just said that. The first thing that we did when we decided on the band name for the drive, the very first thing we did was fly to the Middle East. And we were like, wait a minute, this is weird. We always drive. But the first thing we do is officially the drive we're flying. So,
right.
But yeah, we've been fortunate enough to not only, playing for the military is something that we've done since we very first started touring, but we've been able to go around the world quite a few times. I think 6 or 7 times now with Navy Entertainment, and we usually go either to the Middle East or somewhere in Asia. We'll kind of do Japan and Guam and a lot of the bases that are over there.
Right.
But we had a trip. We're getting ready to go back this November to probably Middle East area, but we never even know where exactly we're going until we're there, and some of that safety restrictions. But we had played some shows, and we had played in Djibouti, Africa, and a sailor, that was in the very front row, he had come up to me after the show, and the best part about these shows is we really do get to spend one-on-one time with these men and women. And the ones that are stationed out in Djibouti or Isa Air Force Base or some of the really kind of out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Djibouti is really our only base in Africa, and so these guys it gets up to 160 degrees at the really peak time. So
Jesus.
They're out there dealing with all kinds of craziness. But this young man was just talking about his story and the fact that he had gotten married right before he got deployed, and he had been gone for over a year, had no clue when he was going to get to go home and see his wife, but he spoke so incredibly sweetly about his wife, and his words just stuck with me. I mean, we've heard this story so many times, but something about the way that this young man talked about his wife just, I don't know, it just kept rattling around in my brain. And when I got home, I wrote this song with my dear friend, Ruthie Collins. We got together, and I was telling her what he said and how he just kept saying, he wished he could make her understand how much he misses her. And he wished that she just understood how much her love and support all the way from home, all of those thousands of miles away, meant to him and got him through each day. So we wrote this song called Miss You the Most from his perspective instead of from, the wife's perspective at home. And it just, I don't know, it kind of took on a life of its own. We did an acoustic video for this song and put it online, and then people started requesting it and telling me that was their story, and just it really touched me that it started to touch so many people, because that's kind of the hope as a songwriter, that that your music can make a difference.
Right.
And we were able to partner with the Boot campaign this year, which was so cool. And so every dime, all of the proceeds of this song, if anyone goes online and downloads it, it will all go to help our men and women in the military. So,
nice.
Our brothers and sisters in arms, both veterans and currently serving. And the Boot campaign is great because they kind of cater to the individual needs of each person. It's not one blanketed cause, because the causes just vary so drastically from person to person in the military, whether it's finding a job or dealing with physical issues or whatever it is. And so that's what's really cool about that to me.
And that's pretty awesome. And so you just touched on it real quickly. If people do want to get, their hands on your music and things like that, is it best to go through the website? Can they just do it through like the Amazons and all that?
Amazon, iTunes, you can go to Spotify. I'm a supporter of any way you can get your hands on the music, get your hands on the music.
Is there some place, though, they have to go specific to make that donation to purchase that song? Is it only on one vessel, or is it everywhere?
Nope, that's everywhere. We
Awesome.
take care of that. Everything comes to us, and then we give it all to the Boot campaign.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's something that people want to keep in mind. But since we're focused on this song so much, I think maybe you can still hang in there for a few more minutes, Natalie?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
This is great. So we're going to play that. Now that you guys know the backstory, and I say this to my artists all the time, you know, it's one thing when you hear a song and, oh, it's a good song, I like the song, it maybe tells a little bit about their life, or they can relate to it, or they can feel something. But I think one of the things that creates a whole new dynamic when it comes to a tune that may already be popular or may already be something that people like is when they hear the backstory. And that story that you just told is an amazing story, and it just gives this tune a whole nother dimension. And I think that really, really makes a statement to say this is where this song came from, and people can really relate to it even just that much more. Like you said, when people come up to you and you go, hey, you're that's my story. You just told my story.
Right.
And that comes from 50, 100, 200, however many people that it affects. And then to hear the backstory of it is, I always like to hear the backstories of some of these songs because I think it just makes them that much more special. But Natalie, why don't you go ahead and introduce your song for us here at Penn's Peak Radio. We've got another good one coming up from Natalie Stovall. Go ahead and give it a shout.
Well, this right here is Miss You the Most from Natalie Stovall in the Drive.
What a great, powerful song, and I can see how people would truly, truly want to relate to that song. I mean, you know,
Thank you.
You know, and I think people forget. You go through a holiday, and unless you're immediately, intimately missing someone, like a brother, an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad, who would normally have been at maybe a holiday, I think people sometimes forget. And it's a nice way to be reminded that your family and your friends may all be at the picnic table, but there are families who are out there missing someone because they're out there doing, you know, they're doing their thing, you know.
Right.
And that's a great way to kind of get it back out there because the line about missing 4th of July and Christmas and New Year's and all that, you know. It's you know, it's a great, I like it. I love it a lot. And I can see why people are relating to that one. For
well,
sure.
and most of the time when we go overseas, we're playing, usually we play 4th of July. You know, we do kind of a couple of weeks around the 4th of July, and a lot of the events and festivals we play are for 4th of July parties. And so it's been really fun to kind of celebrate 4th of July in Bahrain and in Japan. And, you know, you're in all these random places and you're celebrating an American holiday somewhere around the world. But it feels like you're in America because you're surrounded by our soldiers and sailors and Marines and airmen, and it is really cool to you know, to kind of be united and see all these people, and I don't know, it's just it's one of the perks and advantages that we get of being able to do what we do and bring a little bit of home to someone, hopefully.
And you know, I think that's why I like to touch base on it when artists have something special, you know, whether it's the military or it's an organization, you know, they work to raise money to cure a disease or help with children or animals or whatever it is. Because I think if you're given the gift that you can spread a smile to someone, however you do it, and you use that gift to help do that, that tops the charts with me. So.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. But, I mean, you guys are on fire. You've been recognized as bands to watch back in 2014 by some pretty good-sized guns there. Country Weekly, Billboard, Taste of Country. I mean, you know, you're getting out there and stuff. So you know, you're out there, you're performing, you're driving, you're going around the world. What's something that maybe your fans don't know about? Can you give us a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge of what's up and coming for Natalie Stovall in the Drive?
Something, a little wink, wink.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
We have been working very hard on new music, and, you know, that's always a very long process. It never goes as quickly as you want it to, but
yes.
It's been a little crazy here lately. My drummer got thrown off a golf cart a few weeks ago and broke his wrist, and so there's been kind of a lot of
Wait, was he in Pennsylvania by any chance?
No, he's not in Pennsylvania.
We just had an incident at a local golf course about a guy who got run over by a golf cart. At one of our local, wow, something really weird is going on.
More dangerous than people realize. You've got to be careful on those suckers. It was a complete accident, but he got, you know, I mean, it was very kind of just unfortunate incident that happened. The driver was going a bit too fast and kind of gunned it through a turn, and James got thrown off, and and so we've been having a lot of guest drummers playing with the drive, which has been fun. I mean, you got to make the best of whatever situation you're in, and we've gotten to play with a lot of cool people and friends that we hadn't gotten to play with before. And so that kind of took over on a lot of things that we've been working on lately. But fortunately, we actually have a lot of downtime this month. We didn't have a lot of shows scheduled for the sole purpose of trying to get this music finished up and wrapped up and done and get videos done and things. So we are working very hard because we kind of can't do much else right now.
Yeah.
We're working really hard in the studio, and I'm finishing up another song this week, and we've got some more that we're finishing next week. And so, I've gotten gun shy about announcing any sort of times before it actually happens. I'll believe it when I see it myself because of some of the incidents that have happened in the last year to us. But we're finally getting our stuff together. So we're finally going to be releasing stuff very soon. And I'm not just saying that this time. It's actually a reality.
Well, I believe you. I believe you, Natalie. And one way to find out exactly what's going on is, checking out your website, nataliestovall.com. Getting on your Facebook page. I'm sure you're working and using that. Your Twitter page at Natalie Stovall. And, just hang in 10. I mean, become a friend and hang out with you. Do you have the opportunity to do the posts and the tweets and that? I mean, it sounds like you're crazy busy, and I know some artists do, but do you have the opportunity to get on there and chat with your fans?
Oh, heck yeah. I tweeted while we were talking earlier that I was on the air with you because
cool.
My favorite is Instagram. I'm kind of an Instagram junkie. That's just, I don't know, I love photos, and I've always kind of been a little too camera happy for everybody. And so I do Instagram, and I'm one of those that is completely guilty of Instagramming, and then by virtue of Instagramming, I also tweet because I just share my Instagrams on Twitter.
Okay.
And I do get yelled at for that sometimes because it should all be different. But
oh gosh.
It's all good. I do tweet sometimes, and I actually have I think I'm going to be doing a Twitter takeover here pretty soon. I've done a lot of Instagram takeovers lately, but I've got a fun Twitter takeover coming up at the end of the month. But yeah, I mean, I'm very active on the social media, and we'll be posting a lot of stuff in the next few weeks too, kind of gearing up for the new music releases. So you can definitely keep in touch with us, and that is the best way to find out what's going on and what's
happening. I just friended your page too. I saw, yeah. So you have another friend now. So there you go.
Yes, I am very specific about, it's me and it's my voice on all of those things. It's not,
cool.
Some random robot doing it.
That's, and that's cool. And I understand, the differences of when, people get busy and all that kind of stuff. I totally get it. I totally get it. But it's always nice, when people know that if they ask you a question or if they make a comment about one of your tunes or they want to relate, that you're getting the message too, because it's important that you guys also get it, because it is about you. You're the ones doing it, so it's nice.
Oh, absolutely.
You're the one also receiving the messages of the questions and stuff like that too. So that's cool. That's awesome. So I'm very excited, that you've got some fun things in the works. People can pay attention and see what's going on. You've got some great things going on underneath your belt with you and your band. I wish your drummer a speedy recovery. It's incredibly ironic that we just had one of those incidents. Actually, he got flown. He got flown to the hospital. This guy, he got run over.
Oh my God, that is awful.
Yeah, it was like, what? Wait, what? I mean, how fast can those things really go? But apparently,
I know, seriously.
I mean, I guess they're top heavy and whatever.
God.
But we wish him a speedy recovery so he can get back on the road with you guys. And listen, I know I looked at your tour. You're not really anywhere close to Pennsylvania, but if you do ever have the opportunity to come up here, my friend, please keep in touch and know that the Penn Speak Radio doors are always open. We'd love to have you guys swing by the studio if you happen to be heading up to the Allentown, Philadelphia, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area.
Oh, we're fun. We've played up there a bunch. We just haven't this year, so we owe you guys some shows here pretty soon. We'll have to get back up that way.
Yeah, and I know people would eat it up. So yeah, feel free to let us know when you're local. And most of those places we're within 2 hours, and you guys like to drive,
wow.
so
We do. We love to drive.
You know, we'll hook you up with a hotel, and we'll get you in here, and I know everybody would love to see you and hear you, you know, do a little plunking around here in the studio. That would be fun.
We'll have to do some of the new music for you guys.
That would be great.
That way.
Well, Natalie, I know I've already taken up a lot of your time. I appreciate you hanging in there for me. We're going to feature one more song of Natalie's, though. We want to touch base on that real quick. One of the ones that you guys can get your hands on is a little something called Baby Come On With It, and we're going to play that at the end of the show, but why don't you give us a quick little scenario what that one's all about?
Well, this song is my debut single. This was the first song that I ever got to put to country radio, that was a huge milestone for me. And, you know, it was such an exciting thing because it climbed the charts, and it was, you know, in the 30s. Mm-hmm. And as a debut single with a new band on a new record label and all of that, that was just a very cool thing. And this song really did open up a lot of doors and opportunities for us, and just kind of got us going on the next level of things, you know, not just some little band, but we actually kind of got to start playing with the big dogs a little bit. So, nice. And I love this video that we did. We actually took a collection of our touring over the years, and kind of, it's fun because it's kind of like a little tour diary for me. I watch it and I'm like, oh yeah, that show, oh, that's when we're overseas. That's so cool. So it's really fun. There's a little bit of everything in there from the tour diary, but yeah, Baby Come On With It. It's a good one.
All right. Well, we're going to feature that one at the end of the show. And if you guys are just tuning in, because I know I have some people who can't listen at the beginning of the show, but they catch us at the end, make sure you're listening on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time is when the entire show will re-air. Natalie be starting in the second hour of the show. You'll be able to hear some of her music if you missed it. And we're going to play that song at the end of the show to remind everybody to find out about you by going to nataliestovall.com, the Facebook Natalie Stovall, at Natalie Stovall for Twitter, and of course go find her on Instagram. My goodness.
Yes.
Shoot her a picture, and I'm sure she'd be fine with that.
Of course.
Find all your music on the website, all the social medias, and don't forget about that song, Miss You the Most, as the proceeds going and helping supporting our troops. Indeed, that one alone should be one of the top tunes that you download and get in your music playlist and help them out via Natalie and her guys on the band. So that's pretty impressive and pretty important to remember that as well.
Yay.
Well, I appreciate you so much for calling in and hanging with me. Again, keep in mind, doors are open. Call me anytime. We'd love to chat. And let us know when you do get that wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nudge thing that you can announce. Maybe a couple months down the line.
Will.
A lot of my artists do call back. They do come back on the show and just keep us updated. So we'd love to hear back from you. But thank you, Natalie, so much. We love you, sweetheart. Good luck with everything. And keep us in mind when you're heading to Pennsylvania.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
All right, my dear. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Peace, love, fiddle.
Bye-bye.